I find myself reaching a little, straining a little to try to put something into words tonight. Some things don't fit very easily in words, but start with this. I had an experience last week of being with someone who touched ok-ness. I had a visceral sense of what is ok-ness. And it started with a lot of self-criticism, feeling bad about themselves. And I sort of pointed out a few things, helped them settle down a little bit. And I don't exactly know why this happens sometimes or why it doesn't. Because it's not a technique exactly. There's a technique to it, but the technique only takes you so far. I just sort of wandered into that territory as if, like coming out of a dark forest out into a meadow, into that territory of ok-ness. Things are okay as they are. It's a felt thing. It's not a philosophy. It's not something for the mind to chew on. Ok-ness as a philosophy would be like proclaiming everything to be fine just the way it is, as if nothing needed to be altered in the world. And that would produce some sort of passivity or quietism. It wouldn't be what I mean. Trying to come from the head, trying to see things all in a certain way, because I like the idea of ok-ness. It's a little more like stepping into the stream of events arising and passing, into the stream of conditionality, how things all happen by causes and conditions. And somehow the flame of blame, I didn't plan to rhyme that, but it just came out that way. That kind of irritating flame of blame just sort of sputtered and died. Like, there's nobody at fault here. And there was just peace, just the feeling of peace. And it's like this whole thing that we like drag through our life of what we've done right and wrong, what's worked out, what hasn't, and what that means about us. Just kind of let it go. And the bag just sort of goes thump behind us on the ground. Boom. Like, it doesn't have to be carried. And one wakes up to the peace and the potentiality of just this moment, not dragging the past, not creating a meaning out of it. It's like life renews itself every moment, pushes the reset button every moment. And the rest of us is in kind of a lag about that. We're all kind of, because of our superior animal faculties, shall we say, we're creating all of this stuff. And just that kind of reset of, wow, ok-ness. And the heart feels light with that. There's a lightness to it, not an unburdened feeling. And I'm hoping as I describe this, some of you are getting inklings of what I'm talking about. I'm hoping as I'm describing this that the thinking mind can relax a little and just let it come in, just kind of let it come in and reverberate in consciousness. Because there's nothing you're going to quite figure out. It's not about that. Ok-ness isn't available to that. So just let that relax. And this is kind of the journey of faith in some ways is about relaxing. It's about relaxing and trusting arising, trusting that what needs to meet the next moment will arise with it. You know, it's like learning to float. Float on the ocean of being. You know, and as I describe this, I can just feel, this is so important to feel, I can feel this part of the mind that's like looking for what's wrong. It's so helpful if you could just begin to just again have a visceral sense and have just the sense of this aspect of the mind and what it feels like. So if you can begin to really grasp it, the anxious mind, the anxious doer, there's like this thing that's scanning for what's wrong, you know. And so there what kind of just breathing, and it goes, oh, your back hurts. Yeah, so I'm just kind of being here, and it's noticing the places in my body that hurt, right? It's got to scan for that. It's got to like see what doesn't seem right. If you can begin to see that, it's a big step towards stepping out of it, not living it out, not living out the anxious doer. It's just a function. It's a part of our conditioning, tries to keep us safe. But it shouldn't be running the whole thing. If it is, we're frazzled. We're running. It's running us. Part of the experience of ok-ness is this. It's to begin to unhook from this anxious doer. It's to begin to unhook from the figure-outer in the mind as well, which is not exactly the anxious doer. It can't have the feeling of anxiety to it. There's like, this thing that's got to grasp everything conceptually. And it's funny because there's so much that we understand that doesn't have to pass through that lens at all. Maybe a moment of ok-ness will surprise you. Sometimes we offer that to other people when they're upset. something we say, just our presence brings them back to just presence. And it is a certain faith, there's a certain trust that it's sufficient, you know? Because the anxious doer will convince you that you always got to be, doing this thing. The figure outer will think you've always got to be doing this. You're going to look stupid, or not be in the picture. And there are these various things. Some people have this thing that's scanning for what other people need, and they've got to like rush in and help them. Or that, that's a little bit of the anxious doer in a different mode, but there's just that going on. And so there's all these sorts of things in our sensitive nervous system. But ok-ness is to like find the poise in the middle. Still point if you want, where everything arises and passes in the present moment. Where there's a kind of an ease and simplicity of response, where one sometimes feel just, oh, what to say, what to do. Can we trust that in ourselves enough even to discover it? Enough even to discover it. All right, I think I'm going to stop there.